Okay, what we're looking at is realizing that Pennridge isn't in a vacuum. We're all competing for a lot of the same substitutes. So what we've done, we did a survey of neighboring districts. We got a response back from 6 of them. I believe we've shared that with the board. We've also prepared some recommended increases in the rates for the board to consider. We tried to follow the middle of the ground. The middle ground, we're not trying to be the highest, we're not trying to be the lowest, we're trying to find the middle ground. So we presented that information for you to consider as we try to get our substitutes.
I read this thing. It's print's a little small, but I read it, and I noticed that for Central Bucks, Palisades, and Quakertown, which are 3 surrounding districts, this will bring us fairly much in line with them. I did find it fairly amusing that, not amusing, interesting, that we would have trouble getting substitutes at various levels for what amounts to about $5 a day.
Yeah, that's what I didn't quite
But
understand.
I guess if you have plenty of places to go, and it's $5 is now, it's at least a gallon and a half of gas.
But that's a day, not an hour. Right.
Yes, a day.
Yeah, I was surprised at that too.
You turn your mic on.
Well, could I comment on
Sure.
that? Because one thing that we had the decision brief about it, but the one thing that it doesn't mention is that in the past 2 years that we've had trouble that the school district switched right from hiring our own substitutes to source for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's something, like, I'm wondering if that is part of the problem.
I'd have to say no, only because almost every district across the state is experiencing the problem. And, we're all competing with each other in the same area. And even years ago when I was active in it, we were not using a third party. We were having trouble competing for substitutes, and it's always an ongoing issue. Where do we stand in respect to our neighboring districts? Because we're all pulling from that same pool.
I'd like to remind our temporary man that you are working tonight, and thank you for that. Any other questions about this on the teachers? Because I'd like to move ahead to the support staff.
Okay. Yeah, and now what we've done, the primary issue where we seem to have is maybe the clerks and secretaries and the custodians. Especially the custodian seems to be where we're having trouble point. Right now, we do not run the custodians through Source for Teachers, but we are taking a look at that and see how can that assist us. One of the things I want to mention too with Source for Teachers, we're also trying to improve our communication with them, and they are doing services for us now. They're starting to run reports for us that we can take a look at and see where we're having trouble drawing people. They're also now going to do a survey for our substitute teacher pool, try and see what the subs think about Pennridge and maybe what can we do better, maybe what some of the other districts are doing. So we're trying to work with that in a cooperative venture.
It would seem to me, just as a matter of just a thought, but if all the districts are having problems, and it can't be the $5 a day. I mean, it's because they're just not available.
Yeah.
So my question was, is Source for Teachers meeting our needs?
I get, from my point, I need a little more time to evaluate that, probably at least another year for the person coming in. Because the problem is, I think we moved into it pretty fast, and I think there's a lot of communication that we need to improve between the parties. So I would say that based upon the last month, I think we're off to a good start, and that we will be making progress, or we'll find out perhaps why we're not making progress. In some respect to your comment though, I think you're right for the most part, but if you look, all the districts probably have a goal that we want a fill rate of 90%. Meaning we're filling 90% of our absences. Right now, we're below it. I think if I go with last year's, we're a little less than 85%. And I think the money, even if it's only $5, in that 5% threshold that we're trying to get, could be somewhat of an incentive that would help us get closer to that goal.
I guess I'm real confused by this. In the decision brief, you talked about having the retired teachers come back in, and they would require a higher compensation, correct?
Well, that's what we have in the proposal, because when you bring the experienced teacher in, then they can do the lesson planning, they can do the student evaluation, which a lot of times when you bring the sub in, they're relatively new to the system, they don't have that expertise. So that was the thinking behind that.
But aren't subs really coming in, I mean, I understand your long-term subs, but aren't subs coming in a day here or 2 days there? I mean, I don't understand why we can't have the young, fresh teachers coming in, you know, looking for new talent.
Oh, well, we do, and we are trying to get that. We're working on what is the breakdown between a person that stays in for more than 20 days consecutively and the person that's coming in on a day at a time. But as far as the experience, we are attempting, and Source for Teachers is attempting to draw in that pool. We're also, Source for Teachers, we're communicating, they would like to have some type of a presentation here at Pennridge, encouraging people, if you're thinking about a substitute teacher, come on in, we'll provide training and give you the experience you need. But I see what we do, we appear to have a mix, and the thinking of looking at the retired teachers is because of that gap we have where we want to reach that 90%. And
they
can we pull them in?
They do not come in through Source for Teachers?
Well, those retired teachers would. The only individuals who do not come in through Source for Teachers is if we hire them as a long-term sub, say, for a semester.
Right, I understand that, okay. So what do you think the cost of this is going to be for the year? If we increase this to $5 an hour or whatever? I'm sorry, a day, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, and some of it's more than that, but what I have, I can give you a breakout and show you on that, okay? Because it is a complicated.
You can't just give me a total?
Okay, I can.
Well, go ahead. I
No,
asked the question.
If you wanted to know, depending if you want to do minor tinkering or, you know, we did the whole ball game, and this was for everybody, it went from 103,000 to 199,000.
So almost 100,000.
Over what we have done for 2013-14. Yes.
This would be if you had started it back in September.
Yeah, that's for a full year.
We
full
cost
year.
that a whole year. So we're a half year into it at this point. So,
We're half, oh yeah, it is December.
yeah, so it'd be half of that, and that's at a full fill rate, and we never get a full fill rate. We have days where we don't cover them at all. So, you know, those teachers have to cover, principals cover, you know, you have other people in there. So if we get up to 90, 92%, it won't be all of that, but
So
probably half of that.
just to clarify, the increase would be 99,000.
Yeah, the smallest increase, depending on what you did, would be 103,000,
Divided by
and the
2.
largest would be 199,000.
Divided in half for the rest of the year.
For this
Yeah,
year,
for the rest of this year.
then we have next year.
Yeah, if this works.
What you're saying, I thought you said okay, the possible increase you're saying is a range from 103 to 100.
Yeah, because there's a series of recommendations you can consider. You don't have to take the whole package, or if you weed some things out.
That's including the custodian?
No.
Yes, oh, yes, this is everybody that we have, based on the numbers that I had from 2014 and 15, which were the number of absences.
So I did misunderstand that. The increase is between 103 and 199.
For a-
Yes, for the entire group,
Okay.
all groups for the entire year. And there are some assumptions I've made that I would hope that I'm on the high side of those assumptions, but I'd rather err that way than tell you, well, it's lower, and it turns out not to be.
I don't know. I'm a little concerned about this number, I have to say.
Okay, so, and then it would go, if it gets approved at the end of January, it would go into effect immediately?
No retro.
No, there'd be no retro. It's going
But again,
But it would be going into effect at the end of January.
if the board approved it.
And so the increase then would be somewhere between, we're estimating somewhere between 50 and
And
100,000 for the remainder of this year. So where would the money come from in the budget?
Well, right now, to show you, well, this is just for the teachers. We had $600,000 budgeted for the teachers. Through November, we've spent $243,000.
Please repeat that.
They had 600 budgeted.
Yeah, $612,000 budgeted for teacher subs. That's not all subs, teacher subs. And we've spent, through November, $243,000.
So we're almost half, smack half.
Yeah, it's right about 40% maybe. And it depends what is your heaviest absentee. Also, I don't have the percentage. I don't know what our fill rate is at this point.
Any other questions?
No,
at this
well,
point?
I'm just trying to think, that number is more than a third, right? It's more than a third of the amount budgeted that we've spent already in a third of the time.
But I said it depends. You know, I don't know what the history is. Some districts over the holidays, starting from Halloween through the New Year, that's their heaviest. Other districts, they're heavier in the spring. So, you know, as far as absences, so I'm not sure.
So but you're saying it's always either right at the October, December period or in the spring, which neither one of those are included in the money that was already spent.
Well, it is through November, that part of it, you know.
But not the
Right.
holiday, but not the
Okay.
December holiday.
Right, not the December holiday. So it doesn't seem like, it seems like we'll just, without the increase, that there's probably just enough money. So where is the money going to come from in the budget then,
For the increase.
for the increase?
Maybe more sister schooling, but there is, you know, who knows?
No, I think that's a legitimate question.
Yeah, and right now, I don't have an answer for you, so.
Well, then how can we make a decision?
Yeah. I mean, we can go back and review it for it, and I can check with Kathy.
Right, because I guess Mrs. Johnson, she would probably have to do a budget transfer into the substitute account. So I guess she would have to identify an area where we were under budget. Right, well, we may be in the sister schooling, are we under budget, or the?
We're on budget with that. I mean, there are areas that you save money during the school year when a teacher retires or resigns. We had one that left, and then you bring in somebody at Source for Teachers, and we hire them. So there's always those swings that happen during the year, and I got to make sure that we find out who all's in. Are these in the day-to-day sub rates? You know, and making sure that that total doesn't include somebody that's a longer period of time that would actually be in lieu of the teacher that's not there. So I don't know what numbers Jim has. So we can look at this. I mean, our goal is to try to do something. We have the principals every meeting talking about things are not filled. They have 2 or 3 teachers, you know, several of them, with the Senate Dr. Ratty and myself, that they have unfilled positions, and that's after using everybody else. So we're trying to, this may not solve it, but at least we can't say it's not because we're not competitive.
I mean, we have teachers that can't find jobs and they're working as teaching assistants. I just find this hard to believe that you can find new teachers out there that are willing to be substitutes rather than being a teaching assistant.
I agree. I would rather they be here, but the numbers are not saying that we're there.
I guess I have to question your recruiting or well, this is Source for Teachers, correct? I don't know. I don't know. All right.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I have an issue, I mean, when I hear people speak, I mean, a lot of people who sub like to have the relationship with the school, and with Source for Teachers, you don't have that. But it's also the issue, then you have to get into the benefits if they work so many days.
Well, and that's why we went to Source for Teachers.
Right.
But yeah, you got to keep on the Affordable Care Act, you'll be talking about larger sums of money.
Oh,
without
I'm
doubt.
not,
Yeah.
correct, I understand, that's why we went for Source for Teachers. I'm not saying throw the baby out with the source for teachers, whatever that
Well,
metaphor
yeah,
would be.
I would be fine with, if we can identify where the money is coming from for the increase, where in the budget the money is coming from, then I'm fine with it, because to be competitive,
That's fair.
I don't know how everybody else feels. That's my.
I mean, it can go forward, I'm not in support of it, but I'm not gonna take it off off the agenda.
It certainly seems like we're not quite ready to take this to the board at the next meeting.
You could always bring this back to the next personnel meeting and then vote on it at the February meeting,
Sure.
when you have more numbers.
Steve,
Does that
When is
seem,
the next
does that
personnel
seem
meeting?
in line with what the
February.
people were going to do?
Yeah,
Okay with that?
I prefer to, and I think Mr. Dugan's doing a fine job in terms of trying to, we can't
Yeah.
shoot the messenger here. He's bringing us something.
We're not shooting
We're
it.
not
that's
shooting
not-
it,
no,
are
no.
we?
Not taking that way, no problem.
Good, because I think
I didn't see
these
you
are
doing
things
any
that
of
he's
this.
bringing forward to give us an informational purposes, and that is one where, to say, well, it has to do, just as he said, affordable care. We had to address it at some point in time. We couldn't have subs coming in, the 30 hours is there. So if we keep them employed, we're gonna have to then give them benefits. So I agree with you, we need to figure out where the limit would be, but it's still, we don't know if we're going to use up the whole 18,000. It's an unknown.
I would
And
suggest we, excuse me, go ahead.
I just want to piggyback what you said, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Dugan is trying to, in a short amount of time, uncover things, look for solutions, and we just need some more answers, I think, here, because some valid questions.
You okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
Okey-doke, you look like you've been shot at before, so. Okay, the next item then, so we'll get back, we'll visit this at our next Personnel Committee meeting. And then we want to move ahead to the next item on the list, which is the athletic worker rates.
I'll take this one because this is a cleanup that Kathy wanted done a while ago. What was sent out to you is the actual athletic worker rates that have been in existence before I arrived in the school district in 2003. What Kathy has not been able to find going back is a date when the board officially approved these rates. So we just need to actually have a motion that you approve them. We're not asking for an increase. If you want to do that, make that a different discussion somewhere else down the road. But let's get these approved so we can actually pay people. They haven't changed, as I said, there's a couple that were taken off that are now part of the EDR, but the rest of them still need to have been board approved for the rates.
So we need something for Kathy. We need a board approval, excuse me. And does anybody have, any committee members or anybody else have a question about taking this forward?
I have a question. Do we fill every position for every event that's listed?
Pretty much, yes. And if we don't, it's because we couldn't find somebody, but these are people that are needed for taking tickets, running scoreboards, the game helps, so they get them to help the event run smoothly. So if they can find them, absolutely, they do get them.
And I think what was shown here is reflected in our current budget. So, okay, without any other questions, we'll bring this up then for a vote at our next board meeting. That, I believe, takes care of the items. And do we have any general comments from the three of you? If not, this meeting is done. Thank you.
Executive session.